Today on the podcast, it's part 2 of Your Audience is Everything, and we're talking about branding. How can it help you grow your fan base and make your fans more engaged? We'll see you on the inside and we'll talk about it. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Songwriters Planner podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you swinging by. I try to say that every episode. I really do appreciate you guys. And if you're new here, thank you for finding me. Hopefully I can provide some kind of value to you as an artist and a musician. That's what this podcast is all about. I want to quickly mention you can also listen to this podcast on Apple Music. I keep messing that up. I keep saying iTunes, but Apple Music Podcast and Spotify, as well as my website, songwritersplanner.com. Okay, I wanted to jump right into it today, spare you guys the sales pitch and whatnot, but today is part 2 of my podcast of Your Audience is Everything, quote unquote. And the last podcast 56, I believe, addressed what an audience is today and how is that important and why is that more than just the kind of audience that you perform to if you are an artist. The term audience means a lot more these days. With social media, it has changed the landscape of what we consider an audience, and this is a good thing for you as an artist. Now, why is that? Well, because the concept of audience is now global. It's now 24/7. It's not just when you go and play a show and you perform to a certain amount of people in one space at one time. Your audience is always online, is always swiping through their social media, looking for things to look at, consuming content. Basically, we live in a content consuming culture, and your music is content, and it is part of that culture that people will consume, especially if they are your fans. So audience has now changed from a local type of meaning for artists and musicians to a global 24/7 phenomenon. It's crazy. And like I said, this is all good things. Now, I kind of described what that means in part 1. If you haven't seen that yet, please check it out. It's episode 56, Your Audience is Everything. This is episode 57, I believe, part 2. So today I wanted to focus more on the branding side of what your audience can gravitate towards too. I touched on that a little bit in the last episode, but today it's about how are you going to become a brand instead of just an artist or a musician or a band, so that people will gravitate towards you, or the ones that already know you stick around and are interested in what you have to say. Believe it or not, the idea of you becoming a brand is more possible than any time ever in the history of art, okay? Now, this whole concept of, you've probably heard it before, be a brand. What's your brand, right? It can be a little confusing because when we think of brands, we think of Nike, we think of McDonald's, we think of Walmart. These are all brands, yes. But what do you think about when you think of these brands? What gravitates you towards them, or what's your knowledge of them, right? They've been around for a while. They put out consistent products. Whether you like some of the things that Walmart puts out, or Nike, whatever, you may not be a fan of McDonald's. Regardless of that, they all have things in common, and they are consistent with what they do. They are consistent in their messaging, and they have been around for a while. It takes time to develop a brand, and they have a loyal following. They're empathetic to their customers. Okay, now, yeah, we've always had, maybe there's some customer complaints. I'm sure there are, but these are all common pillars and themes that these brands have. They are dependable. You know what you're getting. There's no surprises. They're consistent. You go to Walmart, you're going to get low prices. You go to McDonald's, you're going to get the same fries that taste in America as they do in Europe, as they do in each city, each state. Consistency, okay? That is the opportunity that we can create now as artists, is to be more than just an artist, but to be a brand. And this is the benefit for your audience. That's why it's all about your audience. If you work on becoming more than just an artist, and you curate your content and you create more than just music, you are more to them than just someone who puts out music, then you have better chances of growing your audience and having a more engaged audience that cares about what you're doing. And if they care about what you are doing, they will listen to you when you post something or you speak up and you want to say something, you want to announce something. That is what this is all about, is becoming more something that your audience cares about. Because with social media, competition is fierce. And as much as we like to not think of music as a competition, the fact is it is more of a competition now than it has ever been, ever. Why? Because social media has now given everybody a platform to put their music up, to find new fans, to promote themselves. It's no longer just, bands that you see on MTV and whatnot. It is 24/7 competition of everybody trying to pull your attention to listen to their music. And like I mentioned in my previous podcast, audience is all about attention. Having an audience means you have people's attention. And that is the most valuable commodity in the market today, is when people pay attention to you and what you have to say. It's no different if you are a musician. It's no different if you are a business. It's no different if you are a educator. Whatever it is, if you can wrangle people's attention, that's what it's all about. And brands have the tendency, trusted brands have the tendency to get attention more than just your average person on Facebook trying to promote their music, okay? Now, anybody can run ads on Facebook. Anybody can run ads on social media. But if you are a brand, if you have a following, if you have a reputation as being a trusted source for great music and for empathy towards your fans and for putting up great content, whether it's your music, whether it's videos, whether it's blogs, whether it's vlogs, whether it's social media memes, it doesn't matter. You just have a reputation for being there, being present, being aware of your fans, communicating with them, interacting with them, and sharing great content with them, including your music. If you have this reputation as that, and you have a consistent message, and you have consistent promotion, you have the makings of a brand, a small brand. And it really separates artists who are still working those issues out with artists that have their logo, have their messaging, have their following, have their communication, have their engagement with real fans. There's a distinct separation there. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it's not easy to do, but if you can do it, what you will have is a loyal following, an engaged following, and people that will tell other people about you. Now, how do you get from point A to point B? How do you become a brand? How do you break through and be seen as not just somebody who's just putting out music, looking for attention, but to a trusted source of great content, great quality, great entertainment, and great communication with their fans? How do you do that? Well, it's not easy, but the first thing you need to do is be consistent with your content. Be consistent with your music. Don't just put out one album every 2 to 3 years. Keep pumping out music. Pump out music as often as you can. You don't have to release full albums. Put out a single, put out an EP, every couple of months. Put something out. How do you do that? You can do it yourself. Record it yourself. Everything doesn't have to be professionally recorded and put out online. You can upload to Spotify yourself. You can upload to SoundCloud yourself. Just keep putting out music, okay? That's the pillar. That's the cornerstone of who you are as an artist, your music, right? That's your main core content. Keep posting that. Start with that. Put music up constantly, as often as you can. Even if it's just ideas, put music out there. That's what you do, okay? In addition to that, post great content that tells your story, that tells people about who you are as an artist. And I talked about this in my previous episode as well, about posting content that your artists can relate, your fans can relate to. Make you relatable to the people that you're trying to attract. Tell your story. Post content of things that you're interested in. Along with posting, maybe post a blog about how you wrote your last song. do more than just put out your music, okay? Put out great content that people can gravitate towards, because they swipe on their social media all day long. They swipe all day long. What's going to separate you from the person that is doing the same thing you're doing with the same type of genre that you are, that looks like you? What's going to separate you from that person? Is it going to be your music? You might have great music, but you know what? They might have great music too. But if you do more, if you act like you are a brand, if you act like you have more than just your music, you put out great content and you engage with the people that give you attention, if you engage with the people that comment, if you engage with people that send you email messages or whatever it is online, that's going to separate you from the people who are stuck in the past of just transmitting only. Transmit, my music. Come listen to me. That is not a brand. That's not what a brand does. A brand puts out meaningful, valuable content, and your music is part of that. It's the cornerstone of it, but it's not the only thing. Okay? Do that consistently. Keep doing that. And this is why I say it's a lot of work, because you have to do more than just put out music. Keep putting out music, but also engage with people. Share meaningful content. Create content of your own. Create your own videos. Create your own blogs, tell your stories, share things that you're interested in. This is what the underpinnings of a brand does. And then when you get attention, when people give you attention, whether they comment on your posts, your stories, your music, your videos, engage with them back, talk to them back, say thank you, get their feedback. What do you think about this? Now you become a two-way street. You're not just transmitting you one way only. You're receiving, okay? You're transmitting and you're receiving from your fans, and you're giving back to them. You're adding value to them. You're not letting them get away. Put it that way. It's a great way to describe it, is don't let these people get away from you. Engage with them, talk to them, give them more music, lead them to more music. But at the same time, you have to keep creating your product, which is your music, and surround that with great content, okay? You can start your own podcast. It doesn't matter. Just do something so that you get people's attention, and they look at you and they go, wow, this person does all these things. I got great content. I have everything I need to know. Wow, this person puts out a podcast. They have some great blogs. They share some great content. I enjoy their social media. It gives me value, makes me laugh, makes me learn new things, be more. So that's what being a brand is. And like I said, this takes time and it takes practice, because you're not going to get it right away. We as musicians are stuck in this transmit only mental state of mind, where all we want to do is promote our music and say, listen to our music. Yes, that does work, but it doesn't work when that's all you do, and you become, like I said, an ad to people. All you do is just become an ad, and people tune you out. Now, this is specifically true for the people who don't know who you are, the fan who hasn't become your fan yet. That's the person you want to attract, because that's how you grow your audience, and that's how you nurture your audience, is you attract more people that way. And when you have them as an audience, as a fan, you nurture that relationship. Don't move on and just say thank you and then move on. You nurture that relationship. Give back. Ask for feedback. Get merch design ideas. Just enrich the people that you have, and be empathetic to the people that you don't have yet. It's a circle of content and support for your audience, which is going to eventually grow you into a brand. Now, I also want to bring up the idea of having a consistent message, okay? That means if this is what your music is about, this is who you are, stick with that. Stick with that type of promotion. Stick with that type of branding, because if you're flip-flopping all over the place and you're not quite sure what you are or what kind of music you are and who you're trying to attract, you're not going to get a consistent following. People may find you, they may like one thing you're doing, and then you flip and do something else, and they may not like that. Now, of course, we're talking about this is art, and this is art changes, and you experiment and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if experimenting is a thing you do, then be that experimental thing. Don't continue to flip around with no plan, with no support plan in place. Be consistent with your message, and you say, if I make weird music, here's my weird music, okay? And there's a way to do it so that you can still be true to your art, and still promote yourself and brand yourself as such. It's everybody's situation is going to be different. If you're a metal band, here's your metal imagery, here's your metal songs, here's your metal photos, here's your metal blog on metal. If you're hip hop, such and such, that, and so on and so on, okay? It's different, and there's no specific formula, but the thing is you have to put the work in to find out what your formula is going to be. If you truly want to be a brand and you truly want to reach new audiences and gain and enrich your current ones, putting in the work to find out what your formula is going to be to become a brand is your next step. That is what would be the next thing for you to do. And I learned this every day myself. You know, my Songwriters Podcast Planner, that's my brand. That's a brand that I'm trying to bring to the stage. I'm trying to provide value. I'm trying to be more than just a Facebook page. I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to engage with people who follow what I do and who know what the planner is and who have purchased the planner and use it. I'm trying to support those people, and I'm trying to attract new fans, what I would call my audience, via like a podcast or blogging or website, doing more than just the thing that you think you're meant to do. It is possible. You can do it, and you should do it as an artist, because if you're not doing it, guess what? The person down the street is, and you don't want to be stuck behind 3 years from now going, all I have is my albums, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want it, if you really want to do something and become something more, if you want to make a living or you want to make a career, you want to at least get started so that this music thing that you're doing becomes more for you, then you got to do more. If you want it to be more, you have to do more. And we live in an age where you are capable of doing that. You are capable of becoming your own brand. Imagine that. You don't need media to do it for you. You can do it yourself. And that's going to separate you from the other artists out there who are not brand oriented. Yes, artists may have hit singles and may gain instant fame, but how long are they going to stick around? Are they going to stick around for years, or are they just going to come and go? The artists that have a solid branding behind them and they have everything in place that creates that brand for them are going to be around a lot longer than the artists that don't have that. If you don't have that in place and you don't have those skills to know what a brand is, what it does, how consistent it is, the work that goes into it, you're not going to last, because the next person's going to step up and they will be doing it and you won't, and you're not going to have that audience anymore. So I don't like approaching it as a competition type of thing, but in the reality is, if you want to get up and you want to be heard and you want to be seen, you have to treat yourself like a brand, and you got to learn the skills to get there. I'm learning those skills still every day, but it's a method that I follow and I know it works. And that's my mission for 2019, is to become more of a brand. I hope that you choose to do that as well set your goals for the next 6 months, next year. What more do you want to accomplish so that you position yourself in that way? Find your fans, nurture your current ones, find your formula to grow it, consistent messaging, consistent content, value, engagement, care. Just don't let your fans get away. Give them a reason to care about you, and make it more than just your music. So anyway, that is part 2 of Your Audience is Everything, which they are focused on branding. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on video on YouTube, or you go to Spotify and Apple Music. You can subscribe to my podcast there. And of course, last but not least, my songwritersplanner.com website. You can check out everything about my previous podcasts and everything about me. So we'll see you at the next one. Peace and love.